Hey everyone, it's Jason and welcome to another unboxing. This is for the one deck dungeon games. So there's the original one over here in the blue, there's the expansion, the Forest of Shadows, both which can be played completely standalone as a two-player game. So you can buy one of them and play it two players, you can buy the other one, play it two players, there's all the components in there. Or you can buy both and essentially play a four-player game. Which is kind of fun and interesting. And then in the back here we have the Abysmal Depths, which is an extra expansion pack. So in this video it's going to actually be a two-parter. The first part I'm going to kind of just try and go through and describe how the game is played, what's on each of the cards, all that. And then the second part I'll actually go through every card in the game. I'm going to do all of it combined into one video, so there's not going to be not going to be three separate videos for each. So again, part one here will just be kind of going over the gameplay and the basics of how the game is, and then the second video will actually just be going through the actual cards. So what is One Deck Dungeon? It is a dungeon crawling type game with dice rolling. So it's actually pretty unique and interesting. You have all the everything you need on your cards, and with these dice. It's made up of several different components. So you're going to have a door deck. So we're just going to look at components right now from the base game. And then every door deck is going to have a bunch of different stuff. And there's a lot of information on every card. But I think it breaks down very easily. And there's two basic types of cards in here. There are monsters like goblins and ogres, which will have this little sword icon, which means it's a battle. Or they have perils, which have a trap symbol, like a bear trap, which are other things you might encounter in dungeons, such as a locked door or a cave-in. And each one are handled slightly differently. And so that makes up the deck. What you're trying to do is you're going to have these dungeon cards that you're going to play through. And you want to do is eventually get to the dungeon and then fight the boss on the back side. Which will have some different rules, but every time you go farther down the dungeon, it's going to get harder and harder. The more cards you defeat on the way through the dungeon, you can gain more experience, gain more abilities, make it easier for you. But every turn, you're going to be discarding cards from the deck, and there's other things that'll make you discard. So there's things that'll make you dive through here quicker and pass time, and then when each deck runs out, you will run into a stairs card. And when you hit that, that means now you ascend to the next level. So you're on a time limit. So every turn you're going to always be forced to discard cards from the deck. And then as you beat more things, you potentially can be getting rid of more. If you don't beat certain challenges, it'll go through quicker. So the longer you take to get through a dungeon, it's kind of better, because then you earn more rewards and your character's more powerful. But if you speed through it too fast, then you are going to die, because you're not going to have enough abilities to probably take on a thing. So there's sort of two things. You're going to have a dungeon deck, you're going to have, or a door deck, you're going to have a bunch of dungeon cards, which we'll look at all of them later. You're going to get, we showed off the stair card, you're going to have these skill cards, which are basically, as you get higher levels, you're going to earn extra abilities. And then lots of these cards have stuff that say one player on one side, or the other side is going to say two player. So depending on if you want to play a solo game, you're going to have ability to do that, or if you want to play a multiplayer. Even the stairs have that. So if you're playing 1 to 2, you do stuff. But if you're going to play a 4-player game, you can do a different thing. Now, unfortunately, the way the rules are, there's not a 3-player game. It's either you play one player by yourself, you play a 2-player game, because then you each kind of do your own little challenges, or you play a 4-player game, which essentially just splits every time you do stuff. It doubles all the actions taken, but then when you get to certain encounters, you split off into 2 different groups. Then there's also basic skill cards, which give your characters extra little bonuses. And then finally, there are your different character cards, which have a 1-player side and a 2-player side. So they're going to have basically more stats if you're playing by yourself, less stats if you're playing with somebody else. And we'll go through what all of those do. The other components, just to go over this, is we have a campaign board. So if you want to play a campaign and play through a bunch of different stuff, as you achieve certain goals, you can mark these off and gain different abilities by completing them on different difficulties, completing floors, and different stuff. So it's a way to, like, if you want to play multiple games in a row, you can get stuff. There's a bag of multicolored dice, which are all going to have various representations. Some hearts for health, some potions, and of course a rule book. And then finally a turn reference card, which has something for the bosses and the turns. So that's the basics of what's in here. So now how the game is actually played. So you do is you shuffle all your cards. You make your door deck. I'm gonna maybe flip this down a little bit. So you'll make a door deck. Then you have to build a dungeon. To build a dungeon, you're gonna take one of your dungeon cards. You're gonna take your turn reference card, and we're gonna put it in cover up floors 2 and 3. So for right now, we're just sorry for the giant glare here. My lighting system is terrible. Let's see if I can... It kind of fixes it a little bit. Alright. We'll kind of have to maybe move the camera a little bit more. But yeah, so you're fighting here. So now you're just fighting floor 1. But you'll have access to all of your turn cards. And then you do is... Well, we'll zoom this back out. Kind of look at the play field first. And then we'll zoom back in when we need to look at cards. Then you have your reference card. And you take one of your potions... and you put it on your potion card, just to represent there's one available. And then you have you have a bunch of other ones there, because you might need them for other things. Then, each player is going to pick one of their characters, which have various different abilities and stats. So for now, let's just say we'll take a warrior. So we'll put our warrior down here. You know, you don't have to worry about health or anything. You'll put hearts on you as you take damage, rather than taking them off, I believe. It's probably, I guess you could probably do it either way. Just double checking anything else that we need to know. I think I got all that. I have basic skills, which I'm trying to see when we add those. Oh, I think that's for our levels. That is the other thing we need to do. Then we grab our... So the stair card always goes on the bottom of the deck, so we'll shove that down there. And then we have our levels, which will tell you what you start with. So you start with at level 1. So if we're playing a one-player game, which we're kind of looking at right now, you start with one item and you get 2 skills. The starting skill and the basic skill do not count towards this limit. You get 1 potion during setup, and it costs 6 to level up. So if we flip this over to the 2-player side, instead you only get 1 skill. Starting and basics do not count. Any other stats are the same. Then you level up, you get more different effects. So then when you're starting, your basic skills are just these different cards, 4 different sided. So you got like Precision, Force Bolt, and then it's the same one on the other side. And then we have Ingenuity and True Strike. So you add these to the bottom of your hero card. So let's say, for example, I want to take this Force Bolt. That just goes on the bottom of my hero, and now it adds it to their other abilities, Second Wind, and then they have a special heroic trait. And that's basically how the game is set up. So it's not very difficult to set up at all. But let's look at what actually happens on our turn. So I'm just going to take all of these other cards and stick them off to the side. And we'll look at our turn reference. So it says, at the beginning of each turn, you spend 2 time and then either explore a room or enter a room. To explore a room, draw and add face-down doors until the dungeon. There are 4 total doors. So the first turn is just an explore turn. You're not going to be able to enter anything because there's nothing available. Then we have enter a room. Choose a door to open it, encounter, or If it's closed, open it and either have an encounter or flee. So, what this means is, beginning of the game, we have our door deck sitting here, and we're going to, start of each turn, we're going to discard 2 cards off the top, and that gets us farther into our dungeon deck, and then we're going to play 4 door cards. I could probably play this direction. So then, now I've explored. So now at the beginning of the next turn, you discard 2 more cards. Gets you a little bit farther. And now I have the option of I can't explore anymore because there's already 4 cards done. So I have to enter a room. So you pick one of the doors to flip over to see what it is. So we have a skeleton. So now I have to fight the skeleton because I did it. Now, on the next turn, let's say we, if this is still up for whatever reason, because we ran away from it and we didn't fight it. Now my next player, they have the option to fight that if they want, or they can check a different door if they want. Because maybe they know they can't beat this, so they want to wait. Or you're waiting until you have something better or better abilities. So that's one option. If you defeat it, then this goes away. Then the next turn, person can either open another door, or they could explore and place another door. So basically, you have the option of different things you want to do. So then when you have your encounters. It says, if it's a peril, you have to make a choice. You can use your character's heroic feat. Then you gather all your dice. For fighting, use all dice. For perils, use matching dice. You can look at those. Use your potion, skills, and place dice. So basically, decide what you can do, try and negate stuff. Then you're going to roll all your dice. Place all your dice down to see if you win or not. If you don't, or if you do, you suffer anything you can't do, and then you claim loot. So it's 6 steps, but it's fairly easy. So, do we have a peril card here? Yeah, so here's our 2 different types of cards. And they're going to have a lot of information on them. So we're going to just stop and look at that before we kind of dive in more to the gameplay. So on a creature card here, we have a couple of different things on the outsides. So up at the top here, we have sword, meaning you're fighting it. Name, and then it's a set icon. All the stuff around the border on the rest of the top and the bottom we can ignore. For fighting purposes, all we need to know is this box right here. So it has a special, there's of course a picture of him. It has a special ability, it says Undying. If any boxes are empty, you have to spend 2 time. So that's basically what we need to do to defeat him. If we don't fill in all these boxes with our dice rolls, then he gets to move advance the time twice. Then also while doing the dice, we have to try and cover up all of these spots. Otherwise, whatever ones we don't cover, also we suffer those consequences. So like if we don't cover up this 3, we take another time. If we don't cover up this 6, we take double time. So I mean, if we didn't cover up the 6, the 3, and then since we didn't cover up anything, we would advance the deck by 5. So it's 5 more cards off the deck. So it's kind of, what you can do. If it gets a heart, that means you take health damage. And then the other symbol, the shields, mean you have to attack those first, otherwise you can't attack anything else. Because you have some defenses. And then the different colors match your different skills. So we'll come back to what all the rest of that stuff means in a minute. Because that's all loot stuff, but we can't get in. So now if we have a peril card, which has the little trap icon. So you have arrow wall. So now this has 2 different options. It has magical shield or rush through. So it has basically an easy or a difficult thing. You can either try and do a magical shield, which means you have to roll 6 blue dice, or you can try and rush through and you have to roll 11 pink dice. Now, depending on which character you have and what skills you have, one might be easier than the other, but each one has a different consequence. So if you can't beat the bottom one, you're going to take more health. This one, you're going to take more time. Here's some different options there. Then it's going to do is ask you, so it says after you've made your choice on the peril card or here, you gather all your dice to roll and then match them. So now, how do we determine what dice to roll? We're going to look at our hero card. So our hero has several different things on them as well. So on the side here, it's going to show different symbols. So we have, and I'm going to grab the books. Yellow ones are strength, the swords. The boots are for pink for agility. The blue is magic. And then we have down here, we have heroic dice, which are black. And that's your health. So if I'm fighting this skeleton, I'm going to grab 4 yellow dice. I'm going to take all my dice that are sitting in this common pool. We're going to grab 4 yellow dice. We're going to grab 2 pink dice and 1 blue die. So a warrior is generally stronger, like with strength, but doesn't have the magic, as opposed to like the rogue has more agility, or the wizard had more magic. So each character has their own strengths and weaknesses. But before we roll our dice, it says use our heroic feat. So all your characters have a special heroic feat there, which says roll any dice or all your dice stored here. So you can store a black dice here for each damage you take. You may store up to 2 dice at a time. So you get these special black dice you can do. Basically, something to let you put them on there, and then you can use them when you need them to do extra things. So hers is called Frenzy. Shows you she can use it in a combat, a peril, but not a boss fight. So if, let's say for example, we're a little bit through the game and I've already placed 1 dice, I could choose to take one of these, add that to my dice pool, and then now I have some other things. They also have, now that I've gathered all my die, so we're going to fight this skeleton here. So let me move everything else out of the way, and let's look at fighting this skeleton. Alright, so we're going to fight this skeleton. So I have grabbed my 4 yellow dice, my 2 pink dice, my blue die, and my 1 black die that I'm going to use for my heroic feat. Now I can also use my potions or my skills. So currently right now, to start off the game, we have 1 potion down here, which says heal 3 damage from 1 hero at the start of a turn, or 2 damage anytime. That's not going to help me with this combat unless I was dying and I didn't want to die. So I could spend my potion to not die. But right now, I don't need to use that. Then I have the option of using skills. So they have second one. When you descend, heal 2 damage. Again, does not help me, we're not descending. So all as I have are my dice rolls. So then what we're going to do is use skills, potions, and then place our dice. So what we do is we roll all our dice, and we see what numbers we have. And this is the basis of the game. So what I need to do is I need to cover up these spots here by using the corresponding dice. Now what has to happen though is if they have that shield, I have to cover that first. It says cover a challenge for dice pool. Note, until you have covered all the boxes with armor, the shield, you cannot cover any non-armored boxes. So I can use my skills, I can spend potions, I can spend 1 of my heroic dice, and I can use my encounters. Now, the dice have to match the colors. So I need a 2 and a 4 for blue. I don't have those. So that means I actually can't cover any of these things because I only got a 1 blue. I could cover all the rest of them, but I can't cover anything because he has armor. So that's kind of a bad idea there. So basically say, well, you lose then, right? Nope. You have another option. You can spend 2 dice to gain a heroic die if you need to. Because heroic die, which are black, can go on any color. I'm trying to find the specific part that explains heroic dice. One sec. Alright, so placing dice. So, a small box can only be filled by a single die of the matching color. It must be equal or higher. So, like he has a 2 and a 4, I have to play a blue die of at least 2 or 4 to cover that. If they're wider boxes, you can use any number of dice. So even if it's like, looks like it only fits 2 dice, you can use any number, but they still have to be of the same color, but they can add up. Because, like, this guy's not an issue, but if I was doing this challenge here, I'd have to have 6 or 11. Well, I can't roll an 11, but I could roll enough to do that. Then you can also gain a black heroic die by discarding any 2 dice. Gain the hero dice equal to the lower of those 2 costs. Note, 2 heroes can contribute a die and choose which die. So if you're playing, when you're playing a 2-player game, you're both doing the dungeons at the same time. So you're going to have a little bit, because you have less dice each versus single player, so you can actually combine stuff together. Or heroic die can be used in any color. So in this particular scenario, I can't do anything. So basically I can decide to do is what can I cover up. I need a 6 to cover up that. So I can't technically cover them up until I can cover up them blue ones. But I can say I have a 5 for yellow and I have a 3. So I can cover up those 3. So the extra yellow is completely useless to me. And currently right now, the blue die are useless, the pink dice are useless, and the black dice are useless to me. Because they won't cover up anything else. But to be able to place these dice, I have to have a 2 and a 4. So, the best I could do here is I could get rid of a 4 die here, or it's going to go for whatever my lowest die is. So that's where you run into a problem here, but because I have, what I could do though, is I could use my black 2 to cover up that one. I could get rid of my 4 and 5 for my lowest die, exchange them for a 4 in my blue. So that covers up those 2, and then I could cover up my other 3, my yellow dice. So all that's going to leave me with is that 5 there. But now I only have a 2 and a 3, a 1 and a 2 left. That doesn't help me at all. So basically they're wasted. Because I always use a smaller one. So basically I'm fighting this skeleton. My consequences now is I'm going to take 1 health of damage. I'm going to spend 1 time and discard 1 time off the deck. And then, because of his special abilities, since any boxes are empty, I also spend an additional 2. So I lose 3 dice off of there. Now, the other little bit of a twist for this is the dungeon card, which is right here. So, when I also start off, now, I also have this, though. So, this is also available. These also count towards things I have to deal with every turn. So, for me to fight 4-1, I have to also, if I don't want to take extra health, I have to spend 3 swords. And if I want to do anything, I have to get rid of the shield as well. But yeah, so it says extra, spending extra 5 before your first turn on each floor. So yeah, right off the bat, you discard 5 cards. But now I had a 1 and a 2 in my pink, so I could have easily put my 2 there on the armor, and that would have been fine. I just didn't have the extra 3 for my health, so I would have taken another health damage there. But that's one way of doing that. So then, one second. Alright. The other thing to note, though, for a dungeon, though, is it has the peril side and the battle side. So, like, we're fighting the skeleton. We only have to worry about the battle side. we're doing apparel, we have to worry about the apparel side. But as the floors open up, so like when we hit level 2, then now if we're fighting a skeleton, we'd have to do 3 and 5. So each time it gets that much harder. And then eventually it'll flip over and we'll have to fight a boss. Alright, so then we're down to the last part where we claim our loot. What is our loot? That is the different outside parts of the card. So you have the option of gaining items, skills, or experience. So now based on your level though, it's going to show you what you can have. You can only have 1 item or 2 skills, not including your starting and basic skills. And as you level up. So if I take my warrior here and I want to gain an item, I take the monster card and I put it there. So now I have an extra pink die. So that could definitely help out the warrior, giving him extra pink die to roll each turn. And then different characters will do different things. And then when you're playing with a team, you have to decide who gets what because it might make a difference. The other side is you could identify a potion. So if you identify a potion, instead of it going on the bottom of your card, it goes on the bottom of the reference sheet down by the other potion. So now I have healing or invisibility to use instead. But I still only have 1 potion token. And I add 1 for each other for every time I identify 1. But now I only have 1 available unless I've spent them. And the third thing is on the side here is you have experience. So that goes like this by your level up card. So now I have 2 experience. So I only need to defeat, up to 6 to level up. So that's just 3 different things you can do. Now some of the different characters have different stuff on the bottom. So if we grab a couple of these, you can see at the top we're going to have various amounts of experience, 2s and 3s on some of them. We'll have various items on the side. Like, of course, you guys have sword, magic. This one gets you an extra thing of health as well. And then we have various potions on the bottom you can learn. So all these particular guys have potion. This one has a skill, though. It just gives us a magic skill. Lets you roll, use a 3 blue die to roll a black one instead. So it gives you some different options there. That is basically how this is played then. So then you just go through and you keep going, and then eventually you'll either get to the bottom of the dungeon and you will fight the boss, or you will die and lose. If you're fighting the boss, it's basically the same as a regular monster with a few exceptions. It doesn't have any of the item stuff on the side or the loot because you can't loot the boss. Does have a special ability though. At the bottom there, that's so if you beat them if you're playing like a campaign. But they usually have harder stats, as you can see, 5s and 16s and 17s versus these guys having 6s and 7s. So they're a lot harder to beat. But the idea is that you're gonna get down there and take them out as a team, and that's how the game is played, more or less. And then just, so some of the different changes between, like, the characters is, so, like, 1 player versus 2 player, they lose some of their stat numbers, their abilities change. So this says, you just send heal 2 damage, instead they get ignore 1 going down. Heroic feat, same as that. Some of them change based on characters. That is how that all works. So yeah, we're going to get this giant pool of dice to use. Really fun, interesting. It should be fairly quick. Like I said, it seems like a lot of little steps in there. But it's more or less flip over a card. Does your heroic feat work? Yes, no. Roll your dice. Do you have any skills or potion that make sense? If not, place dice, suffer consequences, claim loot, move on. Fairly simple, straightforward. You're going to keep gaining bonuses. It says, for claiming loot, just to read this, it says, party chooses to take either an item, skill, a potion, or XP. Your current experience lets you So you choose which hero claims the reward. So again, the longer you can stay in a dungeon by not having to draw more and more cards every turn, the more different stuff you can level up your card if you have more items or experience. You could gain new skills or abilities, gain new dice to roll. And since as you win, only one player gets it, so if you don't beat enough stuff, one player might become underpowered. So there are stuff in here mentioning the Forest of Shadows. So that is the second standalone kind of expansion. So that does just add a couple other things into the game. So let me grab some of those cards and we'll look at those. So those are going to have like the same exact things. They'll have a different set number. Except some of them don't have that. But that little leaf there does a couple of other different things. We do have some different skills like this, which shows a yellow symbol, which just means... Where was that page in the book? Alright, so that's showing these. So if you have skills that have those, it says discard from your dice. So there you have to discard that many dice, versus this you have to discard one or more at the number. Basically you're spending those dice to use those abilities. So it's either, if it's a picture, it's just any die. If it's a symbol, it has to be of that type. And then there's potions and stuff like that. So the shadow set comes with the same thing. Comes with all your dice, your health potions, your tokens, all that stuff. It does come with a different guide, campaign guide, so you have a different one to play. It's just kind of fun. And it also comes with these poison tokens. And a basic poison reference card and stuff. Let me see if I can find that. Boss fight, characters, where did the reference for poison go? Alright, here. So it has your stairs, has your basic cards, has your skill cards. Then it has a special one, this is the Horde of Shadow. It's a special thing you can use if you're using both group, or using a 4-player game, but you're playing with both decks. And then it has this special poison card, which, move my dice, and we'll take a look at what that does. So, at the end of an explore turn, the party must resist poison. To attempt to resist poison, roll one die and add one to it for each leaf on an open door. If the total is greater than the number of blue drops on your hero, you succeed. So when we looked at that one monster here, or we got this trap line, has a poison symbol on it. So you're going to roll an extra die for each one of those. And then what you want to do is have extra potions on there. Let me see if it shows them. Where is there? Alright, so for each visible like teardrop aura, place one poison token on your hero. Again, they must be split just like damage. So you get the little poison droplet, and then for every leaf on there, you get a rolling extra die. So basically, you want to have more leaves visible, and somewhere, and then less potions. Success, remove one poison from the heroes. You fail, remove one from one of the heroes, but you add 2 damage to them. So if you succeed, you heal it. If not, you still remove one, but you take damage. And before resisting the potion, the party must split into 2 groups of heroes. Each pair resists poison separately. So you're playing a 4-player game. You're essentially playing 2 2-player games. Just the difference is you can keep rearranging your party, which makes it a little bit different. So it's not always player 1, player 2 versus player 3 and 4. You can keep mixing them around. So if you see an encounter that uses oh, we tried to beat this guy, we couldn't. He has a lot of magic. Okay, this time the 2 mages will go after him. So there's that as well. That's just kind of explaining that for the different hybrid dungeon, if you're playing some of those. Other than that, I think all of the other effects are the same. We did not look at 2 other things, though. One is we can look at the back of the boss, back of the turn card, which has the boss fight. It said you must spend 1 during the boss fight and exile a dice. If you must spend it, you must exile dice instead. So basically, if you start losing on the boss fight and you can't beat him, it's just going to go over multiple rounds. Because, like, the bosses have a lot of health and stuff. So, like, there's our dragon boss. You're probably not going to beat him in 1 turn. So you can try him multiple times, but if you can't beat him, every time you have to exile dice. And as you exile dice means you have less and less of a pool. So the longer the round takes, either it's going to do enough damage to kill you, or you're eventually going to run out of dice. So that is one thing you can do. And the other thing I wanted to look at was how to flee. If I can find that. Otherwise, the boss mode's played basically the same way. Explored encounters. Alright, yeah, they kind of hide this in there. So fleeing. So if you flee, the turn ends immediately. The face-up door remains in play as an open door. Otherwise, start the turn using that encounter card. So basically, you can flip up a monster. And again, like, you flip this up and you need a lot of blue and yellows, and you're playing, you know, the rogue who doesn't have a lot of either of them. You might be like, I'm not even going to try and fight him because I'm just going to take damage because I don't have enough blues. Then you can go ahead and skip it. So all that does is that means now it means you're not going to gain any loot, and then the next turn you're going to add more, discard more cards from the door deck. But this card will be up for someone else to fight. That's basically what happens there. It's no penalty for fleeing, just you're just going to have to dodge it. Eventually someone's either going to have to fight it, or you're going to have to keep exploring new doors. But it gives people options. Alright, so that is what we have for the 1-deck dungeon. Rules, I hope that explained it. I know it was kind of a lot. But we kind of went through a gameplay. So check out part 2 and I'll actually go through all the cards. See you guys later. Bye. Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to 1-deck dungeon unboxing. So this is part 2. So this is where we're going to go through all the components. So if you just want to know what's in each box, we're going to go through all 3. The regular set, the Forest of Shadows standalone expansion, and the Abysmal Dungeon, or Abysmal Depths expansion pack. So if you check out video part 1, I kind of go through what all the cards do, how the basic idea of playing the game and rolling. If you didn't check that out, just a quick overview is you're going to try and get through a deck of cards called a door deck to eventually have to fight a boss monster. And to do so, you're going to use your hero cards to roll a certain number of dice to cover up, cover up spots on here to try and take the least amount of damage. You gotta cover up shields first, but you want to cover up the bad stuff. Basically, every time counter you have dives farther into your deck, gets you closer to having to fight that boss, which is a good thing, except the longer you're in a dungeon, the more experience and loot you can get. So we have monsters, we have traps. So as you beat stuff, you can get experience, which levels up your characters, lets you gain extra abilities and hold extra items. You can gain potions and skills, or you can gain extra dice rolling. Yeah, so check that out if you want a little bit more. And then we're going to go through all 3 sets in this video, so instead of 3 separate videos, just because once I start going through, they're all pretty much the same idea. Alright, so we're going to start with the base game, the original, the 1-deck dungeon. So let's look at our hero cards first. All our hero cards are double-sided. What's also interesting about this game is that all the heroes are women. It's just kind of a neat idea. So we have 1-player sides and 2-player sides. So 1-player sides are just going to have a little bit better stats. The warrior has the heroic feat. You can roll any or all of your dice stored here. You can store a dice for each damage you take, and you may store up to 2 dice at a time. So basically the heroic dice are your black dice, which can be used to use any color. And she has second wing. When you descend, heal 2 damage. And then the other side just has a little bit less stats. But it says heroic feat. You can only store 1 die at a time for frenzy. And then you ignore one time hourglass when you do your fearless charge. So that can be helpful if, like, you know, oh, I can't cover that one, or I have a choice. You might decide not to cover one with an hourglass. We have the Mage as a 1-player. Heroic feat, mana charge. Roll any of your dice that are all stored here to store a die when you explore or flee. And then shield aura can prevent 1 health, but it's only on traps or perils. And if we flip her over, we're going to keep our mana charge. Lets us only store 1 die. We have power transfer. Your partner gains either 1 sword or 1 foot agility, strength or agility. So that's kind of cool. The archer, eagle eyes, spend 2 hourglass to roll 2 heroic dice, or spend 4 to roll 3. Before checking any other effects, discard 1 of the dice rolled. So basically, might want to get rid of your least Amoga 1, but depending on what you need. But its other ability is kiting. If you would lose 1 health, spend 1 time instead. Prevent 1 in each boss round. And then we have the 2-player side. Spend 2 time to roll 2 dice before checking other effects, and discard 1 of the rolled die. Basically, you get less stuff when you're playing 2-player because you're each rolling together. You're teaming up with another player. Increase one of your partner's sword dice by 1 with combined shot. We have the Paladin. Valiant. Roll any or all your dice stored here. Store 1 black die for each door open with a +4 experience. You may store up to 2 dice at a time. And then for every 2 hearts you would lose, prevent 1. You cannot prevent damage otherwise with armor. And then our 2-player lets you store 1 dice for each +4 experience, and you can only store 1 at a time. And then support aura, your partner may reroll 1 or any or all their 1s dice. And then we have the rogue finally with daring gamble. Roll 1 black or 2 black. If either is a 1, you lose 1 heart and 3 time. Do this before checking other effects, because it could kill you, or end the dungeon, or do something. When you flee, you may add 1 door to the dungeon if the door is under limit. So that's kind of neat. Stealth. And then daring gamble, which lets you roll 1 black instead. And then dungeoneering, your partner may reroll any or all of their 1s. So those are our 5 different characters you can play as. They all have various different stats and everything. Then let's look at our basic skills. So we're going to have, on the bottom here, we have precision. You can spend 1 pink die to increase another of your dice values by this value. Or we could have force bolt, spend X number of X amount of blue dice to gain either sword or agility. Then we have another card that has the exact same ones, or on the other side of either of them, we have Ingenuity, increase 1 of your dice by 1, but this is only for perils, but it's free. Or True Strike, spend 1 sword to gain a 4 of any type. These are 4 basic skills we gain. So if you're playing a 4-player game, each player could have a different skill. We also have level up cards. So we start at level 1. Each player can gain 1 item, which items again are the dice numbers on the left side here, or they can gain a skill, which this is actually a potion, but they can learn a new potion, or they can gain a new skill, which will be something like Shimmer Blast. Or we can use the experience on the top of the cards to place it on the side here to try and level up. So at level 1, you get 1 potion during setup. You have 0 extra heroic dice. On the other side is the 2-player game. So basically you get 1 less skill. That's all it changes there. If we hit level 2, now we get +1 potion, +1 heroic die during the encounter, so you get 1 extra black dice to roll. And you can have up to 3 items and 3 skills. And then, well, 2-player just drops your skills down to 1, or down to 2, drops it by 1. Level 3 gives you 5 items and 4 skills, plus an extra potion. Or 3/3 if you're at level 3. And then if you finally hit level 4, you can have 7 items, 5 skills, plus an additional potion, plus 2 counters, and then for every 5 experience you earn an additional potion. And then you have 4 items for, and it's the same stuff. So it's kind of neat. Those are all of those. Then let's look at our dungeon. So we have our staircase. This is one invisible. Place a damage token here for each time spent. Each time there's 3 tokens here. Place 1 on a hero and remove the other 2. At the end of any turn, heroes may descend. This card is revealed while spending time to start a turn. Heroes may descend immediately. So basically, when it's visible, you don't have to immediately go down to the next dungeon. But for every time spent, it's going to add tokens on there. And it says for every 3. So the first time it pops up, you're fine. Like, it's end of the deck, you're done. Then the next turn, you got, no matter what, you always have to place at least 2 time counters. So you always take 2. So you get, like, maybe 1 extra turn, assuming you don't take any time from enemies. Then after that, you're going to start taking damage. So you're probably going to want to just send at the beginning of your turn, versus potentially taking more and more damage every turn. Yeah, so that's that. And then 4-player, it's basically the same thing, except it says each time there's 6 tokens here, place 1 on each of the 2 heroes, and then remove the other 4. At the end of any turn, heroes may descend. So basically, it doubles everything, is what 4-player game does. Then let's look at our actual dungeon. Alright, so I'm not going to go through every skill. We're just going to kind of look at these and you can see the different things. So this does have pick the lock or bash it open. It's a locked door, and it gets us a Shimmer Blast. We have the Plague Rat, who has a Swarm ability, and then you can learn Flame Weave, which lets you spend a 2 to gain a 5, which is pretty fun. A Cave In, you can dismantle it or climb over it, and you get a Flame Weave, so lots of these abilities will repeat. You can't have the same ability multiple times, though. So some of that might be limited. If you already have a Static Burst, you can't gain another Static Burst. You might have to take the experience or the item. We have a Shadow, who gets a Fade, and we get Shadow Burst ability. Spend 4 to gain 4 for your other 2 stacks, and then increase 1 of your dice. Spike Log, Clobber Logs or Dodge Logs. The Wraith, who has a Drain ability. And then we have spend 3 to roll 2 purple dice or pink dice for haste. Flame Statues with the Disenchant or Dodge them, which also has haste. The Ogre, who doesn't have any special skills, but he has some big old stats. Who has attack or pick a value, change up to 5 of your dice to that of 6. So if you roll a lot of 1s. Force Wall, climb around or blast through with Crushing Fist. Gain some double swords. Fire Elemental has flames and he has Mana Front. choose a magic, strength, or agility. Increase all your dice of that color by 1. Ice Elemental was Lucky Familiar. Reroll 1 of your dice or increase 1 of your dice by 1. The Beetle. If any armor boxes are empty, discard this instead of looting. Ooh, so basically you have to take him out. Otherwise you don't gain ability. But you can do accuracy to gain 6 heroic dice. We have another locked door. Accuracy on it. Now I think this locked door has a different... Yep, this one had Shimmering Blast, which is 8 and 11. And then this one has the same stats and everything. Just a different special ability and a different item. So it's kind of neat. They'll keep some of the same stuff, but they might duplicate, but they'll have different rewards. So you have a Goblin who also has Swarm, Dodge, Prevent 1 health in a boss fight, Prevent 2. The Arrow Wall with another Dodge. Another Wraith with Dexterity, gain 6 feet. Pit of Spikes with Dexterity. Bandit, Backstab, roll 2 yellow die. Flame Statues with Backstab. Force Ball with Poison, prevent up to 2 time. Fire Elemental with Consistency, change any or all your dice to 4s. Critical Strike, change 1 or 2 of your agility dice to heroic dice of the same value. Slow time or run past it, it's fun. Phantom. Either will immediately discard all 1s and 3s. Has steady hand, roll a black dice. Plague Rats with Persistence. Ruin Puzzle, decipher or destroy it. Persistence. We have another Beetle with Crushing Blow. A Cave-In with Crushing Blow. The Glooping Ooze with Armor Crush. Gain a 6, we can only cover a armor. Pit of Spikes, climb around or jump over. Bandit with Cleave. Spike Log. Phantom with Triple Strike, gain 5 for the other 3, and make one of them a 6. Ice Elemental with Flurry. Boulder. An Ogre. A Skeleton with Clarity, so now we're going to get some different potions you can unlock. Like reroll your 1s and 2 and roll a black dice. Heroism. Change up to 2 of your non-black dice to 6s. It's a Glooping Ooze. Bear Traps. Disarm them or run through. Spend 2 time before an encounter to skip the claim loot phase. Skip to the claim loot phase. Oh, that's kind of cool. Invisibility. We have an Arrow Wall, which has a mana. Goblin, which has a Shimmer Blast. Ruin Puzzle, Bear Traps, Skeletons, and Shadow. Alright, so it's our different dungeons. Alright, then the last thing to look at, well not the last thing, the last card to look at is we have our bosses. So we have a Dragon Cave, which floor 1 has a Hall of Statues, floor 2 is Flame Aura, and 3 is Dragon King. And then if we flip him over to fight him, he has 6 health, dice cannot be played, dice cannot be placed on him. So you gotta take him out. Yeah, so you strike the boss once per skull damage. So if you can cover up them 3 skulls, you can kill them in basically 2 turns. But it's going to take at least 2 turns and you can't play black dice on them. We have the Yeti's Cavern, which has Freezing Winds. Brutal Strength and Biting Cold. All sword boxes gain strength. Or a shield. And there's the Yeti, who also has 6 health, but he has 4 icons. All ones rolled are immediately discarded. The top one, 24 just for armor, so you basically have to take that one out no matter what. Hydra's Reef, Sticky Surroundings, Regeneration, and Poison Aura. Oops. And there's our Hydra. She's got 13, 19, and 13. Before placing damage, remove 1 damage from the Hydra for each visible skull. So yeah, basically if you leave any of them open, he's going to be harder to kill. The Lich's Tomb, Undying Legions, Weakness Curse, and Blade Storm. I'm going to fight him. The first time each box with a skull is covered during a round, discard to die. And then finally we have the Minotaur's Maze. Deadly Maze, Crumbling Walls, and Poison Dart Traps. So the dots next to their names are going to show their supposed difficulty. And I think it's the difficulty of the dungeon, not necessarily the boss. So the Dragon Cave and Yetis are 1 and 2, where the Minotaur's Maze is 3. So it's Deadly Maze, Crumbling Walls, Poison Dart Traps. And the Minotaur has X is 4 times the number of damage on the Minotaur, a minimum of 12. And then the other two were Witch's Tomb was also a 3, and Hydra's Reef is a 2. So you got 2 level 3s, 2 level 2s, and a level 1. Alright, then the last thing we want to look at for the base game is the campaign log. Just going to go over this quick. So as you complete any dungeon, you can mark off green circles. As you complete something on medium or hard, you can mark off orange circles, and if you complete them on a very hard, you get to complete that. So that's your different dots. So beating the Hydra can do stuff, medium hard lets you do more, and hard lets you do more. Every time you complete a floor, level up, or defeat a boss, you can add either 1, 2, 3 check marks. And then once you complete one of the check marks, you can gain one of the basics. So you can gain a skill. So your hero name in this, and there's a bunch of different sheets here, so you can play multiple campaigns. So it might take you multiple games to get these, but you could get a veteran. Let me set this down instead of shaking it everywhere. Start each game with any one basic skill. Durability, have 1 extra health, or crafty, you may have 1 extra skill or item. Healing effects, you can have prepared, start each game with an extra potion. First aid, when you use a potion, heal 1 damage. Or recovery, when you descend, heal 1 damage. Or grit, after each boss round, heal 1 damage. Combat, guile, use a sword as a agility. Fortitude, reroll your 1s and 2s on swords. Planning, gain 3 heroic dice, or a 3 heroic die. And then direct hit, increase any die by 1. Or dungeon, during perils, you can cunning, change a 5 into a 6. Speed, ignore 1 hourglass, even a choice cost. Foresight at the bottom with reroll a die, or during a boss fight, is you can gain 1 black die in each round. Yeah, some different stuff down there. And then the bottom is going to mention how many games you've played and which bosses you've defeated. Yeah, so different cool campaign stuff. Alright, so that is what we had for the base game. Now let's go ahead and take a look. Alright, so this is Forest of Shadows. It is, again, a standalone expansion. You can buy either set and play them completely, or you can buy them both, mix them together, make for some other games. Let's look at our heroes to begin with. So we have our Hunter. Opening shot. Heroic, spend 1 hourglass to place a 4 heroic dice, or spend 3 to place a 6 on any challenge, ignoring armor icons, or Arya Wolf Companion, increase any non-heroic die by 2. And then the 2-player one, opening shot says spend 1 to place 1/4 on an icon, or flank, you may increase your partner's die by 2. We have the Druid. Transformation, spend 1 hourglass to roll a sword or agility, or spend 3 to roll 2. And then the Leela Bird Companion, swap by as many 2 black dice. And then our 2-player version is still transformation, just less effects. And then Synergy Aura. Choose a color, you and your partner may each roll a die of that color. The Warden has Knowledge. Reroll any of your dice stored here. Store a heroic die. When a card becomes experienced, you may store up to 2 dice. Or Methodical, spend a time to prevent a health or damage. And then Knowledge is the same thing, but you can only keep 1 dice. And Protector, spend a time to prevent either health or poison. Ignore the rule to split damage equally. We have the Slayer. Momentum. Store heroic dice here whenever you complete a combat encounter, up to 2 dice. And Whirlwind, increase a magic and sword die by 2 each. Or Momentum just now drops down to 1 die being stored. Or Rhythm, if you have a 16 or pool, your partner may reroll any or all of their dice. So when you do roll your die, you roll them separately in different piles, because you might affect them differently. Then we have Alchemist, who has Mix. Potion tokens spent from the turn reference are placed here, and you can spend them. Ignore healing effects when using a potion token from here. Interesting. And then Enchanted Chris, spend X blue for every 2 mana spent, up to 8, reroll a reroll an agility or a sword. Or Mix, looks like the same exact thing. Or Deadly Chris, you can roll dice, but it's only up to 6 instead. You or your partner, though, may re-roll them. And then finally we have Catalina, who has, which is kind of interesting because everything else has been a class, and this is like a name. Discard the first 3 wounds that will be placed on Catalina each turn or boss round. Spend 1 time for each discarded. If a heart is placed on Catalina, the game ends. Oh, she's kind of like a optional weird boss ultimate character. And then whimsically, and then Fairy Fire, add spend X blue to add X of the other 2 colors. And 2-player, she basically just gains less even less stats. Discard the first 2, and then she dies. Or Fairy Fire, you can same ability, increase the dice by 1. Ugh, interesting. Then we also have a turn reference card, which is the same as before. The potion on the bottom is a little bit different. It says heal a heart or poison anytime a potion effect is used to heal or gain, or the potion is either gain or heal 1 heart anytime. So let's just do some extra healing. And the other side, just the boss fight. Alright, then let's look at our other cards. So we're going to have Hybrid Dungeon. Says at the end of the this is if you're playing a 4-player game and you're mixing the 2 decks together. At the end of the explore turn, the party must resist poison. To attempt to resist poison, roll 1 die and add 1 to it for each leaf on an open door. If the total is greater than the number of poison counters on heroes, you succeed. If success, there is no effect. If failure, remove 1 poison from one of your heroes and add 2 damage to that hero. Before resisting poison, the party must split into 2 groups. Yeah, so that's kind of interesting. So if you're playing a 4-player game, you can't remove the you can't do anything. You just don't take damage. But if you're playing, this side, if you're playing a 1 to 2 player game, at the end of the turn, resist poison and attempt to. So on a success, remove 1 from the heroes and then remove 1 for each hero. I think the reason why they did this is because you're just playing this particular deck as a 4-player game. You're not mixing in the other deck. You're going to hit poison counters a lot more often versus if you mix the decks together. Then we have item cards. They're going to be the same as the other ones, so I'm not going to go through all of them again. So the same as the base games. Nothing different there. But we do have some new basic potion cards. So we can start with a Rewind. Ignore all consequences and discard the encounter card. Luck. Choose a value. Reroll any of your dice of that value. On the other side, we have Aid. Increase 2 dice by 1 each. Or we have Antidote. Before you roll, resist poison, automatically succeed instead. Then we have our basic skills, which we're going to have 2 cards. They're going to have the same effects on them. We have Recovery. Reroll up to 3 of your die. Piercing Blast. Reduce the difficulty of each shield box by 1. Inventiveness. If you choose a peril option, would cost more than... If choosing a peril option would cost more than 1 time, reduce it to 1. And then Double Strike. Spend 1 sword to gain 3 and 3. Yes, this is kind of cool, because if you buy both sets, even if you don't want to mix them together or play a 4-player game, you still want to play a solo game or a 1-player game, you gain a bunch of new different cards to play. And then we have our stairs, which will be the same 1 to 2, and 4-player, nothing changed there. And then we'll have door cards, which are monsters. There we go. I had the bosses, for some reason, got mixed into the middle. Alright, so we have a Spikealon, who has spikes, suffer poison when you place a 5 on this card. And then Precise Blow. Spend a sword to gain 5 sword and 2 agility. We have a Knoll. So this one's got one of them leaves on there. Howl, and he has Adept. Spend 2 magic to roll each one of the other dice, discard 1 of them. Wisp, who also has Adept. Panther, Sneak By or Charm It. And Charmed Panther, gain a 4 sword or 4 agility. Item or skill. Oh, this is also kind of interesting. So, depending on which one you do, if you do the Sneak By, you have to take it as an item. But if you do the Charm, you have to take it as a skill, unless you want it as XP. So it's kind of another little twist they added to the game. So you have a second Charm Panther. Poison Cloud, Contain or Crawl Under, and that's Spark. Reroll magic and increase it by 2. Another Dire Boar. Thorn Spitter with Fireball, gain 5 and 5. Just strike down or evade thorns. Ice Shroom, another Fireball. Giant Spider with Stone Sting, prevent 1 health. Razor Bark, who has a Flame Walk. This has an Exile. And exiling the boss had it before. Now some of the monster cards have it. So this set is a little bit more difficult because of that. With the poisons and the exiling. Because exiling means you no longer have them in your dice pool to even use. Shadow Stalker, which transmute. Use another skill without paying for it, spend 1 time. A Rockworm, who has immunity, ignore 1 time and 1 poison. Rune Circle, Swiftness Aura, gain 3 agility. And then another Rune Circle, who also has the item or the skill, which is kind of fun because it gives you a little forced choice in there. Doubling, Pack Hunters, Barge, spend 2 to reroll 3, then discard 1 of them. We have a Rope Bridge, which you can bolster or sprint across, who also has Barge. The Direboar, who has Exploit Weakness, gain a 4 heroic. Eye Shroom. Spike-a-Lon with Finesse. Poison Cloud. Sharp Cliffs with Exploit, treat 1 challenge box as if it were any color. Climb up or fly over. Razor Bark with Force Plan. Increase 1 of each by 1 each. Rockworm with Feint. Prevent up to gain a 6 agility. The Moss Golem. Awareness. Reduce the difficulty of each challenge box by 1. Bramblefield. Clear a path or run through with balanced attack. Roll 1 of your dice. Increase 1 of them by 1. Another Vine Trap. Doubling with Blitz. Roll your die and increase it by 1. Trickster with Blitz as well. The Great Spirit, 2 of those with the Struggle Free or Display Powers, which gives you the item or skill. Your skill is Forest Blessing. Reroll a die and gain a 1 heroic. Thorn Spitter with Precise Blow, spend a yellow to gain 5 and 2. Giant Spider with Pulverize. Sharp Cliffs, a Clever Smash. Reroll a yellow, you may discard it to gain 3 heroic. Moss Golem, Devastate, gain 5, 4, and 4, but spend a time. Shadow Stalker with Follow Up. Choose 1 die of 5, follow another by 6, but spend a time. Noel, we're going to get some potions here. We have Brawn. Roll a sword and gain a sword at 3. Trickster. The Wisp has Piercing. Ignore all shields on this encounter. That would be sweet. That guy has a lot of boxes. Not very high. He has a lot. Bramblefield with Piercing. Vine Trap with Luck. Roll 2 heroic dice and discard 1 of them. An Upside Down Rope Bridge. There we go. And then our last 2 are Vortex Stones, which have either Stabilize Aura or Grab the Stone with Invulnerability. So those are our doors. All brand new monsters, which is really fun. Then we have some boss cards. So we have the Phoenix Den. That's actually a level 2. Let's look at our level 1s first. Level 1 is the Mudlands. Sludge, Mudshell, and Rotten Depths, which we will fight. The Mud Golem, 12 health. At the start of each round, exile 4 dice, but he has 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you can actually do a couple different ones. 22 is a lot. Realm of Venom, Poison Aura, Quick Strike, and Lethality, which will bring us to fight the Poison Elemental. 9 at the end of each round, exile 1 poison token. Ooh, that's actually kind of fun. He'll poison a lot, but you can potentially get rid of all them poisons eventually. The Vile Root, Sapling Swarm, Crawling Vines, and Cursed Fog. And then Corrupted Tree. If all skulls are covered, add 1 poison to the hero. So basically, take damage or take a poison. Interesting. There's Phoenix Den here. This one was separate because I think it was originally like a promo or a Kickstarter card, so it got added in later. But we have Phoenix's Den, Sweltering Heat, Persistence, and Terrifying Screech. Although it was a Kickstarter unlock, it's in the deck. I think it just got put separate in the deck because it was an add-on. And then he has 2 health, but deal 1 damage to the Phoenix if all skulls are covered, 0 otherwise. So he only has 2 health, but you have to cover all the skulls. Smoldering Ruins, Oppressive Heat, Smolder, and Raining Fire. So we're going to get the Fire Giant. Roll a die for only half your rounded up type of each stat icon. And then Lair of Inagrax, Dread, and Bowling, and Insect Swarm. And then we will fight Inagrax. 8 health, but roll any 3s are immediately discarded. A lot of shields. Alright, so then we also have Hybrid Deck. The Hordes of Shadow. Use a side if both dungeon decks are from the same set. Okay, so if you're playing a 4-player game, that's what that other one was too. That's where I was a little bit confused. See if I can figure out where I put that card. So the poison reference here is basically if you're playing this with 2 copies of the regular deck, it's 2 copies, sorry, of Forest of Shadows, you're going to have a lot of poison, so it has the ability to remove it with successes. If you're playing a mixed deck, then it doesn't, because you won't hit either of them symbols nearly as often. And this is the same idea. If you're playing a 4-player game, means you mix 2 decks together, but let's say you bought 2 of the base game, or 2 of the Hybrids of Shadow, same ones. One of the 2 groups must fill in this card box. If it is not filled in, it becomes part of the consequences of the second encounter. The box is a gray box is going to be filled by a guy of any color. So that's actually interesting. So it'll hit the second person. And then the other one was the same thing, but it adds poison and time instead of health. So basically, one of the 2 groups must do it, otherwise it becomes part of the consequences for the second counter. So the first group has a chance of doing it. If they can't, then the second one has to, otherwise they take damage. Just actual tweak for having, I think, more cards, a little bit harder, more players, all that. Then we're going to look at our sheet here. I think it is... That is the original one. That is why it looks very much the same as the one I just went through. There's the new one. So basic, we have start the game with 1 base. Start each game with 1 base of steel, 1 extra health, or 1 extra steel item. Awareness. Once per floor, discard an open door. When replacing an item, heal 1 damage, or prevent the first damage from the stairs each floor. Or increase and resist poison by 1. So they didn't give these guys all special names at the last one. But then we have aggression, you can reroll 2 die, or gain 2 of 1 of the colors, reroll or roll a black dice, or reduce each large box by 1. Or savvy, spend 2 dice to roll a black heroic die, increase a heroic die by 1, spend 2 dice to fill a small challenge box, or reduce each armor box by 1. And there's the bottom, Golem, Poison, Tree, Giant, Ingrax, and Phoenix. So what you can definitely do if you're playing a campaign is combine these 2, so you have options to use any of them, because this one has stuff for the dungeon, which gives you peril and boss stuff, which the other one doesn't, but this has a lot more combat abilities. The healing effects are very different from how they work. So depending on what you want. So I'd probably have both of these maybe sitting out if I'm going to play overall campaign. Especially if I'm going to play like a hybrid. Alright, so that was the 2 main boxes, and then now we're going to look at the Abysmal Depths. So it has 6 fiends and 3 heroes. Alright, so if we pull this out, the extra card gets stuck in here. So let's look at our 3 new heroes we're going to get. So if you're just looking, you own 1 set, you're just looking for a little of extra content, this might be a cheaper way to do it. We have the Aquamancer. Who's going to have a heroic feat of Tsunami. Roll any or all dice stored here. You can start up to 6 black dice here at the start of each floor, and 1 die here when you level up. Bubbles, the water spirit. Spend 3 blue to roll one of your other dice. Either a blue and black or a yellow and pink. And then the 2-player version still has Tsunami, but you can only use 4 dice. And Water Blessing. Roll a black dice and reduce it by 1 for every 2 dice starred on Tsunami. Our Dragoon. Stalwart. Heroic feat. Roll any or all of your dice here. You may store any number of dice here in your pool at the start of each encounter up to a max 3. So that's kind of neat. So instead of storing black dice, you can store any die there. And then Trident. Discard a die of 4+ value, gain 3 2s of its color. Cool. Oop, everything fell over. Alright, and Stalwart lets you store up to 2 dice in Forked Strike. Reduce the die of a value of 4+ to 1. You and your party each may roll a die of that color. And then our third one is the Witch. Which has Hammer Smash. Spend time to roll 2 heroic dice, so spend 3 to roll 3. Discard 1 roll die, and then roll 1 sword for each odd die in your pool. Interesting. And then Inner Fire. Reroll up to 2 die, and then gain 3 heroic. And then the 2-player side is spend 1, gain 2, and then reroll, even if there's an even in your pool. And then Anti-Hex, your partner may roll up to 2 die or gain a 3 black. Interesting, but only for peril or boss fights. Alright, then the, of course, the new thing in here is the bosses. Not bosses, they're called fiends. So Abysmal Depths has these fiends, so they have threat levels, and then they're going to have various other stuff on there, so we'll look at that. This is the rules card. So then we're going to get a bunch of these. Just basically things to make the game harder. You can check back to the how to play to see more on this. We have Reflection. So each different threat level as you go up is going to add more and more things to make it harder. And as you place dice on these guys, you have to try and take out each one to reduce their threat level. It says you can confront a fiend by filling up all the boxes over the span of several encounters, reducing the threat level and gaining a bonus for doing so. So each time you're going to try and reduce this threat to basically get rid of stuff that it's trying to make you do. But the thing is, as you place dice during there, they don't disappear. So you're going to keep losing more die and make everything harder unless you want to try and beat this. So remain in play through all floors and dungeons, only leaving when you reach the boss. It's just going to add more difficult stuff to your card. But on your confront bonus, you can gain extra abilities. So that also has a harder side if you needed more difficult stuff to do. Alright, so then we have, and we'll go kind of quick through these since I'm not going to read through all of these, but we have Endless Kelp. And then the harder version. We have Terror Shell. We have Spout Elemental. the Tidal Snake. And finally, the Shark Wisp. Alright. Alright, so there you go. There are all of the cards for the one deck dungeon, unless they have some new expansion out I don't know about. So yeah, if you're interested in picking this up, now you have an idea. If you watch part 1, you have an idea of how to play it. And if you watch this video all the way through, now you have an idea of what's in each box, and maybe you might decide to pick up one versus the other. Or maybe the expansion pack to gain the extra characters, if nothing else. Alright, see you guys in the next video. Bye. Alright, quick add-on at the end here. I forgot to go over the Abysmal Depths and how to play this. So this is a little tiny expansion pack that has 6 new fiends and 3 new heroes. The heroes are going to play the exact same as any other heroes, but the fiends are a brand new card type. So let's look at the instructions here. We'll just kind of go through this. As a new threat to your dungeon in the Adventurous Fiends, you hound you throughout your entire quest to reach the boss and complete the dungeons. So now you select the Fiend addition to heroes in a dungeon and remain in play. They have a threat level. Each Fiend has 4 threat levels, which make things more difficult. And a set of boxes at the bottom. You can confront the Fiend by filling all the boxes over the span of several encounters, reducing the threat level and gaining bonuses for doing so. Boxes on the Fiend can be filled up during any encounter. Fiend boxes ignore any effects that would alter them or the placement in them, including unfilled boxes anywhere. Gray boxes on the Fiend can be filled with dice of any color. Once a die or dice in a wide box is on a Fiend card remains there until you confront the Fiend or descend. This will limit the number of dice in the supply. So this is what makes it really difficult. So let's look at one of these cards quick, just to kind of get an idea. So if we look at this Reflection, it's going to have 4 different threats. It's just going to, the first one's just say, each combat encounter adds a shield to all large boxes. Level 3 says, when you explore each hero with more items and skill, converts them to XP. Level 2, you can only convert heroic dice twice per encounter, and threat 1, if an encounter's consequences includes 2 hearts, add 1 to them. But the confront bonus is X 1 to 3, so you defeat 1 through 3. You gain 6 for each die. She gives you a bunch of bonuses right there, but to beat it, you have to spend 4 yellow die, 4 pink die, 4 blue die cost, and then a 2, a 2, a 2, a 2, a 4, and a 6 of any other colors. So that's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 9 of your dice that you have to spend to be able to beat him. Total pool of dice is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's not a lot of the dice, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 15, 23 dice total, so it's, a little less than, not quite a third of it. But it's still a lot of dice to potentially lose over the course of every turn. Luckily, they don't have any extra damage as they do to you. But let's keep reading here. It says, during the use skill, place dice step of an encounter. If all the boxes on a Fiend are full, you can confront it. All dice on the Fiend return to the supply, and the threat level is reduced by 1. In addition, you gain the confront bonus for that Fiend. If you're on the 2nd floor, you gain the confront bonus twice. If you're on the 3rd floor, you gain it 3 times. So each time you get farther under the dungeon, you gain the bonus more times. Yeah, if you confront it right away, then you're going to gain a bunch of extra dice to be able to do a lot more stuff. So it's also maybe a interesting way to, like, get rid of your weaker die, too. Like, oh, I have the extra 1 or 2 guys sitting around. I'll just throw it on this guy for now, I guess. At least in that way I can do it. Just as you get later in the game, it's going to be harder. So the threat level begins at 2 at the start of the game and resets to 3 on the 2nd floor and resets to 4 on the 3rd floor. All effects of this level or lower are active. So if it is at threat level 3, the effects of 1, 2, and 3 all impact the game. When descending, all dice on the Fiend are returned to the supply. When fighting the boss, the Fiend is removed from play, no longer affects you. Mark your current threat by either placing a damage token on the appropriate number or by placing the XP level card above the top right of the Fiend so that it obscures all the levels of the current Fiend. Reaching the boss of the Fiend is worth 1 bonus checkmark in the campaign, 2 on the difficult side. When playing the Fiend, you always gain the basic skills during step, even if you're not playing the campaign progression. If you are not playing with it, you may want to use the novice standard challenge tiers. Playing a high difficulty boss Fiends can be tough. So basically that's saying that if I'm playing the Merflection, it starts off at level 2. So the first time I fight him, I have to convert all of my heroic dice. I can only convert heroic dice twice, and if I have 2 hits, it takes an extra hit. But once I beat him, I would gain 6 of each of those dice, which is very helpful, or 6 costing each of the 3 dice, which could really help me. Then if you beat on level 2, you gain 2 of each, 3 and 3 of each. So as you beat them on harder levels, there'll be better rewards. But then he also starts at the top. But then each time you dive down, it goes back up to the next thing. So even if, while I'm playing through a dungeon, I somehow beat this 2 times, I knocked him down to 1, get him out of there. Then I dive down, now it starts back at 3, so you have to redo it all over again. And then the other sides are just harder. They're just bigger numbers on the bottom. But his skills stay the same. And they're going to have other various things like that. So now, like, his are a lot of clearing gray ones. You can't have anything. If you fight something like the Endless Kelp, a little bit maybe lower numbers, but you have to have a lot more different colors. Or you can have something like the Terror Shell, which has a lot of one color and then a multicolor. Or you can get ones like this where it has like lots of small but then one big one. And these are just the generic sides, the harder sides of Mario. You'll see that when we go through the part 2 when I go through all the cards. But just so we know how the Abysmal Depths play. Alright, see you guys then. Bye.